Today we're going to read an old household favorite, the story of Diogenes the dog, written by M.D. Usher, with pictures by Michael Chesworth. This is the story of a remarkable dog who lived a long time ago in ancient Greece. His name was Diogenes. Most dogs in this world are content with their doggy lives. They sit, stay, roll over, fetch, play dead, the usual tricks dogs do for a treat or to win a spot at the foot of their master's bed. But Diogenes was different. He wanted to be his own master. One day, while his friends were up to their usual tricks, Diogenes noticed a mouse. The mouse did not sit, stay, roll over, fetch, or play dead, nor did she worry about what kind of food she would eat or where she would sleep. She just scurried about, unafraid of the dark, unbothered, in fact, by anything at all. "Woof," said Diogenes softly. "I want to be like this mouse." Diogenes knew, in order to live like the mouse, he needed to learn some new tricks. So he did a very brave and unusual thing. He buried his collar and leash, left his cozy doghouse, and ran off to the city with his dog dish, a walking stick, and nothing more. "See ya, Plato. So long, Socrates." Diogenes felt unbelievably free, as if a great burden had been lifted from his back. "I like being my own master," he thought. The greatest city in Greece in those days was Athens, so that's where Diogenes went. Athens was magnificent. It teemed with temples, gardens, and luxurious art. But although the people of Athens were rich, they did not seem happy. Fighting, arguing, beating each other up, dogs biting each other's tails and barking. Even the sculptors were arguing. They looked comfortable, but not content. "Now, this looks like a good place to try some new tricks," Diogenes thought to himself. Diogenes' first trick was to need as little as possible and want even less than that. When he was hungry, he begged for his food. When he was sleepy, he just curled up in an old pot. He learned other tricks too. To get used to the heat of summer, he'd roll around in hot sand. To get better at enduring winter's snow, he'd hug things in the bitter cold. Sometimes he even begged from statues. "Why in the world are you doing that?" someone asked him. "To get good at being refused," he said with a smile. He really liked being his own master. Diogenes was determined to live as simply as he could. One day he saw a young boy use his cupped hand to drink water. "Woof," said Diogenes. "Now that's a good trick." And he threw even his dog dish away. Diogenes was happy with his simple life. He spent his mornings in the park and lounged about all afternoon in the cool porches and temples of Athens. People asked him if he missed having his own house and garden. "Why should I?" he replied, waving his paw at the great buildings and beauty around him. "I live like a king." People thought Diogenes was strange. Sometimes he'd walk through town in broad daylight carrying a lantern. "What in the world are you doing with that lantern?" people would ask. "Looking for a good man," he'd reply with a bark. Good people, are often so hard to find. You need a light to see them, even in the sunshine. Diogenes soon became the most famous dog in Greece. I'm sure the competition was very tight, though. People traveled from all over to see his latest trick. One morning, as he was sunning himself in front of his pot, the ruler of the world, Alexander the Great, stopped by for a visit. Alexander was a king. He was powerful and rich and thought a lot of himself. "Ask for whatever you want," said Alexander, puffing out his chest with pride, "and you shall have it." But Diogenes was quite content with what he had. He was his own master. Diogenes yawned, opened one eye, and made his request. "Will you please step aside? You're blocking my sun." The king was taken aback. He said, scratching his head. "If I weren't Alexander, I think I'd want to be Diogenes." Yes, this is a good life, thought Diogenes. And one day, when Diogenes was walking through the countryside looking for good men there, a dog catcher snatched him up and took him off to the pound. The pound was dark, dingy, and damp. Diogenes thought of the mouse. I'm still my own master, he said with a twinkle in his eye. Not long after, a rich merchant happened to walk past the pound. He wore golden slippers, had a silk gown. You could tell he was very fond of his money. Diogenes pointed at the man and yapped, "Hey, give me to that guy. He needs to learn a trick or two." The man, who in his heart was a good man, stopped to have a look at Diogenes. "What tricks can you do?" he asked him. "Well, I know how to be my own master," Diogenes said, wagging his tail, "and I can teach you to be your own master too." The man was intrigued. This must be an exceptionally smart dog, he said to himself, so he brought Diogenes home to take care of his children. The children loved Diogenes, and he loved them too. Together they romped and roamed, and of course Diogenes taught the whole family every trick he knew. People say it's a dog's life, and you know, if a dog is his own master, then they're absolutely right. Diogenes.